I intend to resign as party leader, as Prime Minister.
Once celebrated as the golden boy of progressive politics, Justin Trudeau's star has dimmed. When Justin Trudeau swept into power in 2015, he wasn't just a leader, but a symbol of hope, change, and progress for millions of Canadians. With promises of transparency, equality, and a better future, Trudeau captured the hearts of a nation longing for renewal after years of political stagnation. But as the years passed, a different story began to unfold. Behind the polished speeches and global acclaim lay a series of missteps that would erode the trust of his supporters. From scandals like SNC-Lavalin and the blackface controversy to economic policies that fueled inflation and a housing crisis, Trudeau's leadership began to falter. His heavy-handed response to national protests and broken promises only deepened the divide, leaving Canada more polarized than ever. Today, Justin Trudeau's legacy isn't just one of unfulfilled potential. It's a cautionary tale of how lofty ambitions can crumble under the weight of scandal and poor governance. What happened to the leader who promised so much? And what lessons can be learned from his time in power? Let's reveal Justin Trudeau's rise to power, the scandals that shook his leadership, and the legacy that will shape Canada's future. You're watching 10-Minute Quest. Can a drama teacher and snowboard instructor rise to become one of the most recognizable political figures on the global stage? Justin Trudeau's improbable journey to the role of Prime Minister is as remarkable as it is unexpected. His journey began with a heartfelt eulogy for his father, the late Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau, which resonated deeply with Canadians. In 2007, despite doubts about his political experience, he secured the Liberal Party nomination for Papineau, a diverse and immigrant-rich riding. By 2013, he had transformed the Liberal Party, breathing new life into it with a message of hope and hard work. His 2015 campaign capitalized on widespread dissatisfaction with the Conservatives, propelling him to a historic victory as Canada's 23rd Prime Minister. Early in his tenure, Trudeau garnered international recognition for his progressive policies on climate change, social reform, and gender equality, with a cabinet that reflected his commitment to diversity and inclusivity. Justin Trudeau's leadership style is marked by inclusivity, empathy, and a focus on progressive ideals. He effectively uses his charisma to engage diverse audiences and advocate for a more equitable Canada. On key issues like immigration and climate change, his approach has been centered on building consensus. However, he has faced criticism for occasional lapses in transparency and a tendency toward symbolic actions. Overall, Trudeau combines emotional intelligence with strategic decision-making, aiming to balance personal appeal with effective governance. Compared to other world leaders, Justin Trudeau's leadership stands out for its emphasis on inclusivity and progressive values. While leaders like Germany's Angela Merkel and New Zealand's Jacinda Ardern also champion diversity and social justice, Trudeau's approach is often seen as more symbolic, with his focus on gender equality and climate change. Unlike more authoritarian figures, Trudeau promotes dialogue and consensus building, though his leadership has been criticized for lacking the firm decisiveness seen in leaders such as US President Donald Trump or the UK's former Prime Minister Boris Johnson. What happens when a leader's ambition collides with a series of scandals? The tenure of Justin Trudeau as Prime Minister has been marred with controversies beyond counting that have questioned his credibility and leadership. Ranging from the Aga Khan scandal, the involvement of Justin Trudeau was a big scandal in Canadian politics. He accepted a luxurious vacation on Aga Khan's private island in December 2017, violating the Federal Conflict of Interest Act. Just a year earlier, this trip received $50 million in federal funding. A finding of conflict of interest was not warranted because of Trudeau's friendship with Aga Khan. The scandal stained Trudeau's image and led to leadership accountability debates. The SNC-Lavalin scandal revealed an apparent attempt by Trudeau to influence the then Attorney General to offer a deal for a company facing corruption charges, casting a cloud of political interference. This crisis did much to hurt not only his credibility, but also party support, as many Canadians questioned the moral standards of his government. It gets worse. The blackface incident surfaced during the 2019 election campaign and showed Trudeau in several instances of dark makeup. That has outraged several sections, especially among the minority communities, because it goes against his so-called image of a champion of diversity and inclusion. The after effects of this incident lingered on in the political circles for quite a long time and brought allegations of hypocrisy. The protests, especially the Freedom Convoy and Indigenous demonstrations, further complicated the Trudeau leadership narrative. His decision to invoke the Emergencies Act in dealing with the protests of the Freedom Convoy had its fair share of supporters and critics alike. A delicate balance between order and the respect of civil liberties. The WE charity scandal was also made public in 2020 when the Canadian government handed WE Charity a $912 million contract for the Canada Student Service Grant. It emerged that we had paid the family of Prime Minister Justin Trudeau $425,000 to appear at its events. Critics immediately accused Trudeau of political interference and faced an ethics investigation. The scandal led to WE Charity winding down its Canadian operations. Finally, Trudeau's response to the COVID-19 pandemic was very mixed. Many praised his government's swift financial support measures and vaccine rollout. Others criticized inconsistencies in public health messaging and restrictions reflection of the challenges leaders face during unprecedented times. Justin Trudeau's tenure as Prime Minister has been marked by significant failures and broken promises, leading to a growing sense of disillusionment among Canadians. Despite his initial appeal, Trudeau's leadership has often been criticized for a lack of cohesion within his own party, frequent policy reversals, and an inability to address critical issues, such as meaningful reconciliation with Indigenous communities. His decision-making, highly centralized and reliant on a close circle of confidants, often undermined accountability and collegiality, resulting in a government more concerned with political optics than effective governance. Key campaign promises such as electoral reform and real progress on Indigenous reconciliation remain unfulfilled, with many viewing them as unmitigated failures. As the gap between Trudeau's lofty pledges and the reality of his policies widened, public trust in his leadership diminished, leading many to question his ability to bring the change he once promised. Under Justin Trudeau, Canada's economy experienced significant shifts, marked by ambitious policies aimed at fostering growth while addressing income inequality. His government introduced tax reforms to increase revenue, funding social programs like the Canada Child Benefit and universal childcare, which were lauded for their potential to reduce poverty. However, critics argue that these initiatives contributed to skyrocketing government debt, growing almost twice as fast as the economy. Trudeau also faced harsh criticism over Canada's housing crisis, where mass migration and rising inflation made homeownership increasingly out of reach for many Canadians. Despite initiatives like the Housing Accelerator Fund, questions remain about their real effectiveness. The COVID-19 pandemic further strained the economy, necessitating unprecedented fiscal interventions, such as the Canada Emergency Wage Subsidy, to keep businesses afloat. While Canada is slowly recovering, debates persist about the long-term sustainability of Trudeau's economic policies and their impact on income inequality. Unethical scandals including the SNC-Lavalin and WE charity scandals, are some of the major missteps of Justin Trudeau that helped dramatically lower his popularity. Early in his tenure, he was hailed as a transformative figure, championing progressive policies on climate change, gender equality, and social justice. However, a series of scandals, such as the SNC-Lavalin affair and the blackface controversy, along with unfulfilled promises on key issues like Indigenous reconciliation and electoral reform, led to growing disillusionment among Canadians. Economic struggles, including a housing crisis exacerbated by inflation and mass migration, only added to the public's frustration. As Trudeau's approval ratings plummeted, the decision to resign seemed inevitable. His resignation on January 6, 2025, has ignited debates about the future direction of the country, particularly as the Liberal Party grapples with a tarnished reputation and declining public trust. His successor will be tasked with restoring faith in a government that many Canadians now view as increasingly out of touch with their concerns. The resignation also signals a potential shift in Canadian politics, as opposition parties prepare to capitalize on the uncertainty. The true impact of Trudeau's departure will unfold in the coming months as the nation looks ahead to a new chapter in its political landscape. As Justin Trudeau steps down from office, his tenure as Prime Minister is increasingly defined by a series of controversies and unfulfilled promises, which have cast a shadow over the optimism and progressive ideals that initially captured the hearts of Canadians. Trudeau's departure serves not as an end, but as an opportunity for reflection on the challenges and missteps of his leadership. In seeking new leadership, Canada must reckon with the consequences of those decisions while continuing the pursuit of a more transparent, collaborative, and inclusive model of governance. Ultimately, the legacy of his time in office may not be one of outright failure, but rather a collection of valuable lessons that future leaders must learn from to avoid repeating the same mistakes.